Hey friends, Kevin here, and today, while we're talking about different van life topics when you're out in your minivan or cargo van adventuring, when you're out in the world, you're going to have to unfortunately run into bugs and insects and different things that you're just going to have to deal with. As a matter of fact, a year and a half ago, and this was in the winter time, I was bitten by something. I still have a spot on my leg that is never like it used to be. Ended up having to go to the doctor, and I don't know what got me. I assume it was a spider, but we may never know. But one of the things you're going to encounter also are going to be ticks. Ticks happen. I have not had a lot of problems with this over the years, but it does happen every year or two. And the weirdest situation that I got into with ticks was I was in West Virginia, and I got out on the side of the road to go look out kind of at this overlook place and went through some weeds about maybe a foot high. And there were two of us, and we came back to the vehicle and jumped in the vehicles, and I felt something crawling, and I looked down, and I had 15 or 16 ticks on me. And the other person had 15 or 16 ticks on them, on their legs, just from that little area, 15 foot of walking through these weeds. That was the weirdest thing. I had never experienced that before. So they do happen. And while it's very rare that you have something serious happen from ticks, there are things that can happen that can cause you health problems for years, that can cause you health problems for the rest of your life simply from a tick bite. Daryl Hall from the band Hall and Oates, he has been fighting this for the last 25, almost 30 years, having a lot of health problems from a tick bite. So, of course, you can pull a tick off of you. There's people, the old ways, grab tweezers, but you don't want to break these things off. What you really don't want is you don't want to upset the tick. And this is the important part, because if you damage the tick, even though you may get it off of you, especially if it started to embed into your skin, it's possible that it will still excrete something into you. And if it happens to be one of those that is carrying something bad, then even though you've gotten into the tick, you have now set yourself up for illnesses. And again, this is a very, very rare thing, but it can happen. And while I don't often get into personal stuff too much, as you know, I will tell you this, and I found out from experience also, due to an illness I did have that they were trying to track down. And one of the things I kept throwing out there and being shot down by every doctor I encountered was, hey, do you realize how much I'm on the road? I'm spending months now out of the year out in the world and hiking and out and doing these things. And have some of these symptoms of this bad tick thing. And everybody that I dealt with in the medical profession, I don't know if it's because I'm here in the East in this part of the country, they just instantly shot that down. So finally, at a little country doctor, I'm like, look, I want to be tested for this. And this is a place where normal tests are very cheap compared to most things. And I can tell you being tested for this tick stuff is expensive because it's a two-part thing. Your first part will cost you about $150 or $200 to be tested. And if that comes back positive, then there's a second part they have to do that's even more expensive in order to verify that you have been bitten by a tick and have this bad stuff in your system. So I actually had to pay for that test, and the first part luckily came back negative, so that put an end to it. But this brings us all back around to tick removal when you have one on you, or you haven't noticed one for a day or two and it's starting to embed itself a little bit. which is this thing called a tick key. And that was my first thing. I had run across one of these things several years ago, and I thought, well, that's a little bit expensive, for this piece of metal that you put on your key ring so you can rub it across your skin and pull a tick off or out. But being able to pull a tick off or out without damaging it is important, because I had to do a lot of research on this stuff, unfortunately, because of fighting a health problem that potentially was going to be caused by a tick. Luckily for me, it wasn't, but the potential was there. And while my first instinct was, well, that's kind of a stupid price for this thing, I can tell you the price of this thing was a whole lot cheaper than that test that I had. And the second test I would have had to had, and all the health stuff that would have come had I actually tested positive for this and had to deal with it. So that's it. You can follow the link, bounce on over there, see what this costs, read the reviews, make up your own mind. But I can tell you it's one of the things I'm going to have on a key ring from now on, because I've just been too many places that I've ended up with a tick on me. I've been out with other people and turn around and, they've noticed a tick on them and had to try to get it off. And this makes it easy. And like I said, keeps you from making the tick mad or squishing it or crushing it or causing it to try to get even with you for getting it off. So the theory behind this thing, at least to me, does make sense. You can use your own judgment as far as that goes. If you have any questions about this stuff, if you have ever had to deal with this, if you have had any issues from tick bites yourself or know someone that has, I'd love to hear about it down in the comments below. We all learn from each other. We'll get back to some other van life travel stuff in the next video. We'll talk soon.